2009, drones were used 53 times. In fact, he used the option to drone Pakistan 72 hours after entering the White House. The Brookings Institute published a report quite soon after, which was charmingly titled "Do Targeted Killings Work?", in which they found that for every purported militant killed by a drone strike, 10 or so civilians also died. 10 or so. I mean, this is the algebra of surgical wars and of targeted killings. Or so. Last year, there were 118 drone strikes against Pakistan. And if everyone, and it begs the question really, if everyone was so clever and everyone knew Osama bin Laden's not-so-secret location 9 months ago, since about August, how does it explain the ferocious campaign that took place last year, after Pakistan had suffered its most devastating natural disaster ever, between September and December of 2010? In 102 days, America launched 52 drone strikes against Pakistan. And it should be also said that none of those drone strikes targeted Abbottabad or any of its environs. They killed hundreds of people, none of whom happened to be Osama bin Laden or any of his dastardly lieutenants, like Mullah Omar or Ayman al-Zawahiri. But yet the defense budget, the American defense budget for 2011, has asked for a 75% increase in funds to further enhance drone operations against Pakistan. And so it was 3 weeks ago that in the sleepy garrison town of Abbottabad, Osama bin Laden was killed with 2 bullets fired by Navy SEALs from the Joint Special Operations Command, an outfit that is described lovingly as sort of being like Murder Incorporated. A choice that was made, we're told, in opposition to drone strikes. President Obama vetoed drone strikes or a bombing raid to kill Osama because he worried about the risk that innocents may die, which is a bit rich considering that we know, according to the American Civil Liberties Union, that the United States military does not in fact track civilian deaths by drone strikes. Departing from the Tarbela Ghazi Air Base, American helicopters traveled to Abbottabad, 30 kilometers or so, 30 miles, from the capital, and within 40 minutes of landing, had not only killed Osama bin Laden, but had killed or captured another 22 or so people. Much has been made of the fact that 8 days before this operation, the chief of the Pakistani army, General Kayani, inauspiciously told a bunch of cadets in exactly the same town that the Pakistani army was fully aware of all the internal and external threats to the country. But that's the army. Now we're almost 3 weeks away from the killing, and no one has yet heard a peep from Pakistan's president. President Zardari met the news that the world's most wanted man was killed 2 hours away from his capital with an almost catatonic silence. And instead of a televised address or some sort of press release to the nation, he did what all hapless leaders do when in trouble. He wrote an op-ed for the Washington Post. And in this op-ed, in the 500 words of his op-ed, he claimed very feverishly that his government had no idea about the operation. And he waxed lyrical about his personal travails, applauded Secretary of State Clinton, an old personal friend of his, and seconded President Obama's morally ambiguous speech, all the while resurrecting nothing short of a stump speech of his own, which essentially said, "Please don't remove my government. We are very democratic indeed," even though he himself was never elected to office. Leon Panetta, the head of the CIA, has said that the Pakistani government was either knowledgeable or incompetent in regards to Osama bin Laden living in their country, without realizing that there is a way for them to be both. It takes a certain aplomb to insist that you did not know public enemy number one was living in your country, and in a leafy suburb of your country, not in a South Waziristani cave. It takes more aplomb to insist that you didn't realize that American helicopters had entered your airspace, that you didn't realize that they may have actually left from one of your air bases, and that your closest international allies had been planning to take out said public enemy number one in your country for the last 9 months. But the Pakistani establishment's modus operandi of recent years has been to look the other way, but to keep their purses at the open. And this is certainly not unique to Zardari. When asked on local television, the former president, dictator General Pervez Musharraf, said that when he was president and he was asked whether Osama might or might not be living in his country, he always went with the safe answer: I don't know. This has become something of a national refrain: I don't know, but please may we have some more. And it's this sort of clarity and cooperation that has earned Pakistan something like $1 billion in military aid a year since 2001. But it's not just Pakistan. It's with the same charmless shrugs of shoulders that we are told, or we were told, that it was just 90 days after 9/11, the attacks that made him famous, that Osama bin Laden escaped American surveillance and disappeared from the Tora Bora Mountains into thin Pakistani air. 7 years later, in 2008, 100 American troops were sent to Abbottabad to train Pakistan's Frontier Corps in deadly Osama hunting techniques, exercises they carried out, probably footsteps within their feverishly imagined target, but nothing. Later on that year, again in 2008, according to WikiLeaks, who will no doubt tell us what really happened in a couple of months, another 100 American troops visited Abbottabad again to train the Pakistani military in Al-Qaeda killing techniques, another collaborative visit that nobody told us Pakistanis about, and happened to miss Osama once more. Whose fault was that? The 2008 New York Times reporting on that failure is more forgiving than of late. It simply didn't take. That's what they said. When American troops make intelligence failures, it simply doesn't take. But when Pakistanis do it, well. Now, what did Pakistan know? You'll be pleased to know that every airport I've been to has asked me this question, every festival, and every person who finds out I'm Pakistani. And I think there are serious questions here. We know for a fact that whenever neighborhood children lost cricket balls over the bin Laden compound, they would never get them back. When we played cricket in the field near the house, if the ball flew over their wall and we went to the gate to ask for it, the guards would be angry, said Tariq Khan, 14 years old. This suspiciously informed schoolboy continued. They would give us up to 100 rupees to buy a new one, but that's a large sum, as cricket balls only cost 20 or 30 rupees. We know that Osama spent his days, when he wasn't watching TV, scribbling feverishly into a notebook and coming up with all kinds of monstrous plans. Destroy Zionist entity, end American imperialism, plan to kill President Obama, but not Joe Biden, it turns out, because he's not worth the trouble. And since the news broke, we have more evidence, we have more intelligence that has been very carefully gathered. We know, thanks to Kaysar, the very polite grocer, that bin Laden's handlers bought only bulk food orders, always major brands, Pepsi, Coca-Cola, Nestle Milk, and that they only bought the good quality soaps and shampoos. And just in case you think I'm being funny here, I'm quoting from CNN and the Wall Street Journal. They always paid cash, never asked for credit, Kaysar concluded breathlessly. Newspapers screamed blue murder. Apparently, census takers had avoided the bin Laden compound. Clearly, the Pakistani Population Census Organization was in on harboring the man. Or the 2011 census had only just started 3 weeks before. While Pakistan is at present pleading ignorance, though the military has acknowledged in the statement that they put out, that though there were intelligence shortcomings, it was the military's unparalleled cooperation that has resulted in more Al-Qaeda captures in Pakistan than in any other country, which seems like an incriminating thing to be boasting about. The president has spoken of nothing, and the prime minister took 2 weeks to come back from an international tour of France, before which he told us that the failure wasn't only ours, but the entire world. So while all these factors are at play, there are certain things we can know. There are certain things that we can be sure of. Things like the hot pursuit agreement, a deal signed between General Musharraf and General Stanley McChrystal, which says that America has the right to enter Pakistan at will, anytime it pleases, and engage in kill and or capture operations, while Pakistan reserves the right to deny that they had any knowledge of either of those things. And this is something we should probably be remembering as the days go by. If a nervous breakdown is a mental shutdown that stops its sufferers from coping with reality in any coherent way or with adapting to the world around them, then Pakistan and America are your poster children. But we handle our breakdowns in different ways, as Pakistanis via our romantic attachment to conspiracy theories, and America through an enthusiastically frightening moral ambiguity. If President Obama's 9-minute celebratory speech announcing bin Laden's death reminded you of George W. Bush, but with better diction, you are not alone. With no apparent sense of irony, President Obama eulogized those children who had lost loved ones due to terrorism and the scourge of violence, and those children whose parents' seats sat empty at the dinner table. But he said nothing of those orphaned children whose injustice was done to them by the man at the podium and by those that stood before him. Since Barack Obama took office, some 2,000 Pakistanis have been killed in drone strikes, and those are largely civilians. They are nameless, faceless Pakistanis. And no word was said about those losses or those children. President Obama spoke of bin Laden as being a mass murderer of Muslims, but said nothing of the hundreds and thousands of Muslims who have been killed since the invasions and occupations of Iraq and Afghanistan. Neither was there any acknowledgement that Iraq was a country that had nothing to do with Al-Qaeda or with Osama bin Laden, but has only become fertile breeding ground for both parasites since American, British, French, and we should say Australian as well, troops put their boots on its soil. The death squad who killed bin Laden, we were told, exemplified courage and determination, so much so that they are now in hiding and their families fear for their lives. The murder, which was also simplified as today's achievement, was a testament to the greatness of America and to the determination of the American people, who we were told, in the manner of a pep talk given to slightly obtuse children, can accomplish anything that they set their minds to, whether that is standing up for equality or defending their values abroad, or pursuing property. But he didn't mention the failures of this can-do country, the renditions, the disappearances of suspects who were not even told what it was that they were suspected of, the torture, the waterboarding, the schools and wedding parties accidentally hit by smart bombs and predator drones. And in perhaps the grossest pronouncement of triumphalism, we were told that we were either with President Obama in celebratory euphoria or not, and that all those who valued peace and human dignity would welcome the demise of Osama bin Laden. Unfortunately, this moral turpitude was not unique to America's president, and if one needed coaching in just exactly how to enjoy assassination, you had plenty of options to choose from. Muslim groups across America and the world lined up to rejoice and separate themselves from Osama bin Laden. Elie Wiesel called it a death deserved and defended the cheering hordes of people whose delight was somehow more excusable than it would have been had the shoe been on the other foot. And the Dalai Lama, even the Dalai Lama, in the same breath in which he told us that he was so compassionate, he avoided swatting mosquitoes whenever possible.